Hello, it's BigSpider here, and today I'm going to be doing Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon tier list. In the background music, there is Fire Emblem New Mystery Emblem music in the background, so it fits the theme better. So, I'm going to be basing this off of H2 and H3. Those are the modes I'm most familiar with, so we're going based off that, which means there will be a tier below a tier. I'm going to call it prologue tier. So units like Gray and Norn will be in 10, and H2 and H3 will be in this tier. And when we're doing like guiding characters like Athena, Horus, or Wendell, people like that, we're going to be ignoring the requirements for that, and only basing off of how good they are as a unit. I will also be considering V-class options for this. So, let's begin. Alright. We have Marth, and Marth in Shadow Dragon is interesting, to be sure. He is not very strong. He has a few hits, but he does visit villages and such. He's definitely not the worst unit in Shadow Dragon. There are a lot of really bad units in Shadow Dragon, to be fair. But being sword locked is still a problem. Having a rapier is really helpful though against bosses like Cavaliers and Knights are 99% of the game. But the fact that he has the rapier, which is effective but gives him weapon triangle disadvantage, is not as good as you'd think. But overall, Marth is a fairly average unit. Not the greatest, not the worst. I put him in C tier. Abel. Now, Abel, he joins really early. He joins in chapter 1, so he has plenty of time to grow. And he joins with D rank lances, which is what he needs to use a javelin. Now, javelins are really good in Shadow Dragon, and the fact that he has D rank lances means he only needs one weapon rank in order to get to C rank, which is when he can use Rider's Bane, which will be really helpful against the Cavalier units that plague most of the game. Because a forged Rider's Bane is basically the key to it. Now in Shadow Dragon, weapon ranks are everything. Weapon ranks grind up very slowly in this game. So, Abel, starting with D rank, is really good. Couple that with mount and some of the better growth in the game, and Abel's just a really good unit all around. As for that, I put him in A tier. He's a very good unit. He's solid throughout the entire game. Abel is really good. I think his biggest flaw is luck, but this is an issue that can be solved fairly easily, at least. Next, we have Kane. And Kane is a slightly worse Abel. Does more damage, but he has D rank swords instead of lances. He has E rank lances. Now, normally this wouldn't be a problem if swords were not the worst weapon type in the game. Swords are not good. So, they're not that great. So, Kane, having a more affinity for swords instead of lances is what he needs to know to get javelin. That's just not very helpful for him. But he is mounted, he does join early on. He's got pretty decent growth all around. Overall, not that bad a unit. I'm gonna put him in B tier. He's definitely like an upper B tier, but he's not as good as Abel. Jagan. Okay, Jagan is an amazing unit, because once reclass comes around, you can reclass into a Draco Knight, and Draco Knights are busted. And don't listen to people say when Jagan are wasted EXP. Jagan joins early on, really good stats. He has B rank lances at base, meaning he can use the Rider's Bane right off the bat, the Forged Rider's Bane at that, and Silver Lance. And overall, Jagan is an amazing unit. Easy S tier. I don't think there's any real debate for this. There's a reason he's Don 151's profile. Alright, Gordon. Gordon. You're an archer, and especially on higher difficulties, archers can be really helpful. But you don't cut it. Your stats are not good enough to sustain you. Your growths are not good. The fact that you use both. Honestly, Gordon's not that great a unit. But considering everyone else we have, he's a D tier. Like E tier and F tier are like reserved for units that somehow even worse. Alright, Drog. Drog as an armor knight is not that great. You can take quite a few hits on chapter 1, and that is very helpful. You want units that can actually survive on that chapter. But after that chapter, he is pretty much useless. But if you reclass him into a hunter, he can do a lot. He's basically a better Gordon once he's reclassed. He's still not that great, because hunter is not that great of a class either way, but he's better than Gordon, I guess. And Shadow Dragon being on the second reclass line is better to be on the first overall. I'm gonna go ahead and put him D tier above Gordon. I mean, actually, C tier. Saida, I don't think there's any debate about this one. Easy S tier, best unit in the game. Forged Wing Spear is enough to carry you through the entire game. You'll never have any problems. Having forges is just broken in this game. I am not even joking. And she's a flyer. What else do I need to say? Saida's really good. Riss. He's a healer, and that's about it. He's like a walking vulnerary for early game. If you do not use him, you will not survive in early game. I'm just telling you right now. But, I mean, after early game ends, he's effectively useless because you get better healers. I'm gonna put him in C tier above Mark. Just because of healing overall. He's very helpful in games especially. Ogma. There's been a huge amount of debate over the years about how good Ogma is, really. But overall, I would have to argue Ogma is a pretty powerful unit. He starts off pretty good. Not as good as people have said, but still really good. But his biggest flaw is his weapons. His weapon use. He starts at C swords, which isn't bad. Killing edge at base is great. The fact the game's dominated by lances, Ogma's not going to survive. I mean, if you reclass him into like a fighter or a pirate, I guess he can be pretty good. But I mean, you already have a bunch of other fighters and pirates that you can use instead. There's no reason to use Ogma over some other units. He's a B tier in my opinion. Right behind Kane. Ogma, he's good, but not that good. Speaking of being good, Barst. Barst is one of my favorite units, probably in the entire franchise. He is an amazing unit in Shadow Dragon. Like, seriously, you do not sleep on Barst. He is really good. Given the Devil Axe, even, he's a powerhouse. Even if you have to rely on not getting backfires. But overall, being of these hand axe at base is amazing. That he's really good. And the fact that he uses axes, that makes things even better. I'm gonna put him in A tier above Abel. Above Abel. Yeah, you know that you've got something good if I'm putting him above Abel. And he only needs one more weapon rank in order to get the hammer, which he can get from his brother. Speaking of his brother, we have Board, and probably the only good thing about Board is his weapon ranks. He starts off with C axis. He's very strong, but not as strong as Bar. Not as strong as this guy. Yeah, these two, Board and Cord, they are worse versions of Barst. Board gets D tier just because of his weapon rank. And Cord is a speedy boy, but I mean, the best thing you can really do is reclass him into a hunter or a dark mage. In fact, someone, like a friend of mine, Zelfie, played the Shadow Dragon one where he reclassed Cord into a hunter and he was freaking epic. But in a normal run, Cord is considered one of the worst games in the game, especially on H5, because you don't really have room to reclass much in that run, in that difficulty, and Cord's ability to double is neutered as enemies get stronger and faster. We're judging about H2 and H3 standards, and Cord isn't the worst game in the world on that difficulty. I'm gonna put him in E tier, but I might end up just leading E tier, because it's just in between D and F, and if the American grading system got rid of it, then I can't do right. Now, Castor, he is a hunter, and don't get me wrong, I love Castor. I've used him in every run I've done, but he just doesn't cut it. He's not good enough. And heck, Drog is a better hunter. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put Castor actually ahead of Board and D2. He's better than Gordon at least, because of having that one extra move, but he's not that great either way. Alright, Daros is a meme. He's not amazing, like, at all. However, he's a meme. Given like an iron or a hand axe, he can do pretty decently. And reclassed from pirate to fighter, guess he's alright. I mean, he's not amazing, but honestly, I'm debating putting him in either D or E tier. I think he's at least worthy of D tier. But I guess ahead of Gordon, I guess. I mean, Daros, let me tell you, Daros is not amazing by any stretch of the means, but I mean, he can serve alright, I suppose. And now, Julian, he's the best thief in the game. Not saying much considering thieves are awful, but I guess he gets C2 just for that. Mart and the Fire Emblem can open chests already, but I mean, if you're gonna be trying to thief with Mart, you might want to bring Julian instead, so you don't get in the way. Alright, Lena, she's a warp bot, going to C, rank stays, and warp, and that is really good, having a warper in early game especially. Now, she's not amazing, but she's really, really good, and because of this, I'm going to give her A rank. Having warp early on is busted. Warp in the DSFE games is absolutely just destructive. It is... I don't even know how to describe it. Sorry about that. Bump, by the way. Lena's really good. She's not that amazing of a heal bot, but healers aren't that great in DSFE anyways. Navarre. He joins with the Killing Edge, and that's about all he does. Navarre is not that great of a unit at all. He's definitely he's like the definition of an average unit. He has alright growth, decent bases, but he's not amazing. He's not all that. I'm gonna put him ahead of Mart in C tier. Merrick. Alright, so in theory, Merrick is an amazing unit. Joining with Excalibur is really good, and mages can be hit or miss in DSFE. And Merrick would be a hit if it weren't for the fact that another unit that joined like literally one map later can also use Excalibur and is far better. So this is something I've been pointing out for a while now. Merrick's existence is completely pointless, but granted, reclass might be better for that one unit. But Merrick for Excalibur is already good enough. And just being an Excalibur bot already puts him ahead of Horus C tier. Mathis. He is a worse Kane and Abel. So, like, if you lost one of them, oh, look, Mathis is a replacement. He's not good. He's D tier. Actually, E tier. We'll put him ahead of Cord at least. Mathis is bad. He's really bad. There's no reason for Mathis to exist, really. Harden. I love Harden. He's a really good unit. I'm pretty sure you can use the Silver Lance at a base. Yes, you can. So, Harden has B rank lances. The funny part is the game gives you a silver sword and tells you to give it to Harden. He can't even use it. I think it's D rank swords as well. So, Harden joins with really good base weapon ranks, which is already better than Kane and Abel. And considering how freaking slow weapon ranks are to grind this game, Abel shouldn't be at B rank unless, like, you boss abused, which we are not going to be considering. So, alright. Thing is, Kane and Abel, if you're using one of them, they should have gotten plenty of XP by the time Chapter 5, I think, rolls around. Chapter 5 rolls around. So, Harden has worse base stats than Kane and Abel. Well, he has better bases, but when you're coupling growth, Harden is not as good, but his weapon ranks are amazing. So I'm going to put him in B tier ahead of Kane. And now we have two of my favorite units in the entire franchise. And considering these two, Wolf and Sedgar, they're effectively the same unit, I'm going to group them together. So, their bases are not very impressive, and they're pre-promoted. But you know what that means? They get the second line. They get the second male reclass line. Okay, turns out I lied. The first reclass line is better, at least once promoted, because you have access to Draco Knight, which is the most broken class in the history of Fire Emblem. Well, probably behind Dancers, but other than them, Draco Knight is amazing, but Wolf and Sedgar cannot get that reclass because they are in the second reclass line. However, they're still really good because their growths are whoosh. Pair that with class growth, Wolf and Sedgar are amazing. I think I'm going to put them in A tier ahead of Barst. And these two are practically interchangeable. They're really good. I mean, it may take a little bit to get them going, but on H2 and H3 you can get away with that. And they can become amazing units. Russia. Oh, Russia. Okay, you have no speed growth. I think that's all I need to say. At least you're better than Mathis. I think you're better than Mathis, but I'm gonna put you in low E tier anyways. And Violent, probably the most useless unit in the history of useless units, but considering that he's my favorite unit, he gets S tier. No, he gets F tier. Violent is an awful unit in every sense of the word. I once tried to do a Violent solo on even normal, I couldn't do it, so that goes to show how bad of a unit Violent really is. He's a terrible unit. Next up, we have Wendell, and Wendell is an amazing unit. He's a pre-promoted Sage, I believe. It's been a little bit since I've played Shadow Dragon, but I remember a lot, so I'm qualified to make this list. Just saying. So, Wendell. He's not amazing in his base class, and, I mean, he can get warp rank pretty quickly by reclassing him to a bishop. But, I mean, you already have Lena for that. As nice as a second warper might be, but Wendell has a Draco Knight is where it's at. Draco Knight Wendell is really good, and one of the most broken things in the game, builds things that are already broken. Wendell! And, like, a fan favorite is reclassing Wendell into a sniper and seeing him just destroy everything. It's so much fun. Because of that, he gets A tier. And you think I'm going to put him ahead of Horus too? I think, actually, because he has access to reclass A to become a Draco Knight, he's ahead of Wolf and Sedgar. That's in my opinion though. Wolf and Sedgar will be better like in late game, where after they've grown a whole bunch, Wendell is much better than now. Rickard, he's the worst Julian, and he's a thief, but he's completely pointless because you have Julian. At least it's not New Mystery where you need Julian to recruit Rickard, thus making Rickard's existence as a replacement Julian completely pointless. I'm going to put him in E tier behind Ford. Thief utility in Shadow Dragon is not as great as you would expect. Especially because you don't really need anything from chests to survive anyways. You'll do fine without getting any chests in the game. I think. Athena. She is a Myrmidon. She's also a guiding character, but I'm not going to be holding that against her. Athena's biggest problem is that she just doesn't have that great base stats. And swords are not good in this game. I'm gonna put her in D tier ahead of Casper though. Like Bantu. This isn't New Mystery Bantu. Thankfully, it's Shadow Dragon Bantu, so he's not as awful. But Bantu is not that great of a unit. You really only need to get peaky, and even then, they're disappointing. Dragons are not that great in this game. I'm going to put him behind Horus. Bantu's not all that great. Now we have a flurry. Now we have a few more really bad replacement units. We have Caesar, who's meant to be a replacement Ogma, and even looks the part. Caesar's not good. Mercenaries are supposed to be more bulky than Myrmidons, and yet Caesar and Rad have very similar stat lines, with Caesar only having like 2 levels ahead and like 1 or 2 difference in stats. And again, swords are not good in this game. I'm going to put him behind Rosha, because at least Rosha has perks of being Cavalier and better base stats overall. Rad is much the same, except I'm going to put him behind Cool. Rad's actually better than Rickard, believe it or not. Thief utility is effectively useless. Rad at least can do something in battle. Roger is an armor knight, and he's not as good as Frog because he doesn't have the option of being a good hunter because he doesn't really have speed. So Roger's just not that great. I'm going to put him behind Board. Actually, we could put him behind Darius. George, he joins with really good weapon ranks and as a sniper. He's a lot better on like H5 because you need snipers a lot more on that road, but snipers are always better than archers. And also better than horsemen. So George is really good, and he joins with a really good weapon rank. I think he can use Parthia base. He doesn't join Parthia, sadly. Unlike in New Mystery. So, George. He goes ahead of Ogma. He's a really good unit, trust me. Alright, Maria. She is a staff bot that's completely pointless. But hey, she's a staff bot, right? Alright, no, she goes ahead of Athena in D tier. Minerva is a really good unit. She joins as a Wyvern Rider, and has really good axe ranks. So she can use Hawkser at base, and like a forged hammer or hand axe, and she'll be fine. She'll crush the opposition, especially considering she is a Draco Knight after all. Minerva is really good, so I'm going to put her in A tier ahead of Abel. Lind. She can use Aura, but that's like the best she can do. She's not really that great overall. She joins in too late with too low base stats to really do much. I'm going to put her behind Navarre. Jake. Jake is a Ballisticon, and Ballisticons are broken. or ballisticians, or whatever I call them, ballisticans. That's weird. Ballisticans, ballisticians, whatever. They're broken. Easy A tier. I can't put him ahead of Horus. Medea. She does not have the greatest bases or growth, and she is a pre-promote. But I mean, she's alright, I suppose. She's salvageable. She's not completely pointless. But, I mean, she's not amazing. She's good behind Merrick and C tier. Dolph and Macklin. Macklin's the worst Dolph. And Dolph's an armor knight. I think that's all that needs to be said. Dolph is not a good unit, nor is Macklin. But I'm gonna go and put Dolph behind Caesar, Macklin behind Caesar. But considering that Dolph does use lances, he's not like insalvageable. No, I'm gonna put him ahead of Caesar. I think that's more fair. Tomas, probably the worst unit in the game. Tomas is absolutely awful. He is Gordon. If Gordon joins in like chapter 10 or something like that. Tomas is useless. He's one of the most pointless units in all of Fire Emblem history. I am not joking. I am not exaggerating. Tomas is awful. Boa. He is Wendell if Wendell joins in chapter 10. So honestly, not too bad. Having a warp user is always good. So I'm gonna put him ahead of Kane. Horus. I am going to need a moment on this one. I'm not entirely sure when it comes to Horus. Like, I don't know how good it is exactly, or if he could be better. Okay. So, Horus actually doesn't have that bad of base stats. He actually has pretty decent base stats. And he's probably one of the better armor knights that you get in the game. But you can always reclass Horus from an armor knight to something else, something probably more useful. He is on the second reclass line, so he honestly kind of gets screwed over for like later promotions. Like, the best thing you can do is like, I don't know, hero or something. Not really, doesn't really have that many good options. Nothing really too favorable. But B rank Lancers at base, 15 strength, 17 defense. Definitely better than Dolph Macklin, that's for sure. Horus actually does not seem that bad, but I'm going to put him like at a mark. Just he joined really late, and like Wolf and Sedgar will already be better. Sedgar is like best as a general, if I recall correctly. He'll probably be better than Horus by the time he joins. Next we have Beck. He's a worse ballistician compared to Jake, but he's still about ballistician, so he gets B tier. At least B tier. Yeah, that is Kane. Okay. Astrum. Not amazing, but I am 99% sure he's Mercury at base. Which, not bad, but it's a sword in a game dominated by lance units. Well, at least he's a hero, so he should be able to use hand axes pretty quickly, which, all things considered, is not that bad. But, I mean, Astrum is definitely a huge disappointment for being the supposed hero of Arcanea. C tier. Alright, Pala, she's powerful. She's a Pegasus Knight. She joins fairly late, but she's strong. Pala is good. She's got a B tier at the very least. Well, A tier. Katria is a worse Pala, but she's just a slightly worse Pala, so she gets B tier just by that merit. Auron. Auron, my favorite unit. Alright. Auron. He has very disappointing base stats. Oh! Auron. I mean, he has A-rank lances, but those base stats are disgusting. Oh my. They're worse than, man, you can't really get anything good in Shadow Dragon, can you? Compared to Samson, who has very similar bases, honestly, Auron is probably one of the worst off. I mean, you could reclass him to a Draco Knight, and that's cool and all, but Auron's bases, man. C tier. Samson has very similar bases, except they're better. However, he is locked to the reclass line. All things considered, isn't that great. He does have B rank axes though, that are really good in a game filled with lance enemies. What do you know? I think I'm gonna put him in C2 as well. I would say he's better than Auron. So, not by that much, considering like everyone around here is like about equal quality. Zane is completely broken. He can become like a second Pala or second Wolf or something like that. Second Jake. Zane can become like a second one of your most powerful units. Especially if you have like 2 wing spears. I don't think I've ever tried that, but man, Zane's broken. He's a very good support unit. He goes in A tier. I think I'm gonna put him for Minerva. Etzel. He's pretty much a staff bot. He joins in very late. Well, quite late, not very, but quite late. He's alright, I suppose, but I mean, nothing special. I am going to have to say, Etzel's not that great. I'm going to have to say D tier for Etzel. I think like upper D tier seems pretty fair. Saves are not amazing. Est is an awful unit. I think everyone can agree on that. E tier. I think just because he's a flyer, and like he uses lances, I guess, but not much more. Tiki is not an amazing unit. Dragons are pretty bad. She is better than Bantu though. So I think we can put her at board. Lawrence, he is not a very good unit at all. He's a general, joins in one of the last chapters of the game. Honestly, not really worth it. D tier. Ymir, okay. Let's see. Ymir is not an amazing unit. He's powerful, he's bulky, but not amazing. Because here's the thing. Axe users that don't have skill are not great. And Ymir is one of them. Berserker, and yeah, being locked again to the second reclass line is not fun. The reason Bark is so high is because he's so powerful so early on and just gets better and better to the point where he's so strong that being stuck to one reclass line does not really affect him too much. Wolf and Sedgar are very similar. Ymir joins in too late for this to apply to him. So I'm gonna say he's probably worse than Board actually. I think like we're comparing everybody to Board now at this point. Alright, Elise, she can use the Alm staff, but other than that, she is just a staff bot. So nothing too amazing, unfortunately, for Elise. She is a staff bot though, so I guess she's like C tier, I suppose. And these last two, I can't really rank them because they joined the last chapter. I mean, their usefulness really depends on how good everyone else is. So like, if you have a really bad Wolf and Sedgar, like Nagi or Goto will be much better. So I'm gonna have to give them an unranked tier, I'm afraid. For just these two, because I can't really rank them accurately. Oops. Alright. So, this is my Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon tier list, which is most certainly subject to change. It just depends on like how much more research I do, how much more experience I get. This is subject to change for sure. So I hope you enjoy, and well, I'll see you guys around, I suppose.